My son-in-law laughed at me until the will was read. I never thought respect could disappear so quickly. One moment, I was a father who had worked his entire life to give his daughter a good future. The next, I was just an old man standing in the corner of my own house, being laughed at by the man who married my child. My name is Daniel Harris, and this is how my own son-in-law humiliated me and how fate, patience, and a single piece of paper changed everything. When my daughter Emily introduced me to Jason, I tried to like him. He was tall, handsome, and very confident. Too confident. He shook my hand with a weak grip and said, "So you're the famous hardworking dad I keep hearing about." Something about the way he said it didn't feel like praise. It felt like mockery. Still, Emily was in love. And I loved my daughter more than my pride. Jason came from money, real money. His father owned construction companies, and his mother ran luxury real estate. They lived in a house so big it echoed when you walked. I, on the other hand, was a retired electrician who lived in a small two-bedroom home I had paid off over 30 years. Jason made sure I never forgot that difference. At their engagement dinner, he laughed when I ordered the cheapest dish on the menu. "Wow, Mr. Harris," he said loudly. "Do you always eat like you're on a survival budget?" People chuckled. I smiled politely. "I eat what I can afford." He smirked. "Guess that explains the house." Emily kicked him under the table, but the damage was done. That was the first crack. After they got married, things got worse. Jason started treating me like I was a joke. A poor joke. Whenever I visited their home, he'd say things like, "Careful, Dad, that couch costs more than your car." Or, "Want me to explain how the smart TV works?" "Oh right, you still use cable." One evening, while I was fixing a loose door hinge in their kitchen, Jason walked in and laughed. "Wow, still doing handyman work. Don't worry, I'll get Emily a better house someday so she won't need you around with your tools." I put the screwdriver down slowly. "I help because I care," I said. He shrugged. "I help with money, that's better." Emily looked uncomfortable, but she never defended me. Not once. That hurt more than Jason's insults. The worst moment came during Christmas dinner. We were sitting at the table with Jason's parents. His father was bragging about a new luxury apartment complex they were building. Jason joined in, talking about how he'd soon be managing one of the projects. Then he looked at me. "So, Mr. Harris," he said loudly, "how much did you make in your best year as an electrician?" I froze. "Enough," I replied quietly. Jason laughed. "Enough for what, a toaster?" Everyone went silent. His mother tried to change the subject, but Jason wasn't done. "I just think it's funny how people act proud of working their whole life, but still end up with nothing." I stood up. "I worked my whole life to raise my daughter," I said. "And that is everything." Jason raised his glass. "Cheers to low expectations." That was the night I realized something important. Jason didn't just disrespect me. He thought I was worthless. After that, I stopped visiting as often. I spent more time alone in my house. The house everyone mocked. The small house on Oak Street. What no one knew was that house wasn't just a house. It was land in a growing area. A very growing area. A developer had been calling me for years, asking to buy it. I always said no. I didn't want to move. I liked my garden. I liked my quiet. But after that Christmas, I started thinking differently. Not about selling. About planning. I went to my lawyer. "I want to write my will," I said. He raised an eyebrow. "You're healthy, why now?" "Because I want to make sure things go where they belong." We wrote it carefully. Very carefully. I didn't tell anyone about it. Not Emily. Not Jason. I also didn't tell them about the bank account I had quietly built over decades. Extra jobs. Overtime. Smart investments. Jason thought poor meant broke. He was wrong. Years passed. Jason's arrogance grew. Every time we met, he found a new way to humiliate me. Once at Emily's birthday party, he handed me a cheap gift bag and said, "Here, Dad, I got you something." Inside was a pair of work gloves and a tiny toolbox. He laughed. "Figured it matched your lifestyle." People laughed with him. I didn't. I just said, "Thank you." And I waited. Then one winter morning, I collapsed while shoveling snow. Heart attack. I survived, but it was close. That's when I knew the time was coming. I updated my will. And I added something special. 3 years later, I passed away peacefully in my sleep. Emily cried at my funeral. Jason barely looked sad. He whispered to someone, "Wonder what kind of junk he left behind." The will reading was scheduled for the following week. Jason came in a sharp suit, smiling like a man about to win a prize. Emily held his hand. My lawyer cleared his throat. Daniel Harris left behind one property, one savings account, and several personal items. Jason leaned forward. "This should be quick," he said under his breath. The lawyer continued. "To my daughter Emily, I leave my photo albums and my wedding ring." Emily wiped her eyes. Jason frowned. "To my son-in-law Jason, I leave my toolbox." Jason burst out laughing. "You hear that?" He really leaned into the joke. Then the lawyer raised a finger. "And a letter." He opened an envelope and read. "Jason, you once said I would end with nothing. I want you to have something that reminds you how I built everything with my hands. Use it wisely." Jason shrugged. "Cute." Then the lawyer continued. "To Emily, I leave the house on Oak Street." Emily gasped. Jason's eyes lit up. Finally, the lawyer wasn't done. Along with the savings account attached to it, valued at $1.8 million. Silence. Jason's smile froze. The lawyer continued. "The land under that house has been rezoned for commercial use. A developer has already offered $3.4 million for it." Jason stood up. "Wait, what?" The lawyer turned to him. "You and Emily are required to live in the house for 5 years before selling it." Jason laughed nervously. "That's fine, we'll renovate." The lawyer shook his head. "Condition 2. Jason must personally maintain the house. No hired workers. No outsourcing." Jason blinked. "What?" "And condition 3. If Jason insults the value of manual labor again in the presence of Emily or any family member, the house and money will be donated to a workers' charity." Emily covered her mouth. Jason looked at her. "This is a joke." The lawyer slid another paper across the table. "It is legally binding." Jason sat down slowly. For the first time in years, he had nothing to say. "They moved into my house. My small house." Jason complained constantly. "The pipes are old. The roof leaks. The wiring is outdated." And he had to fix it himself. No construction crew. No luxury shortcuts. I had left him my notes. My diagrams. My tools. He didn't know how to use half of them. At first he tried to cheat. Hired a guy secretly. Emily caught him. Dad said no, she told him. "You'll lose everything." Jason stopped laughing after that. Months passed. Jason learned to fix things. Slowly. Painfully. He burned his hands. He broke pipes. He failed. One night he sat on the floor with a wrench and cried. "I don't know how he did this every day," he said. Emily said quietly. "He did it for me." That was the first time Jason ever spoke my name without mocking it. By the 3rd year, Jason could fix most things. He didn't brag anymore. He didn't joke about money. When someone once laughed at a janitor at a party, Jason said, "Don't. You don't know what it takes to build something." Emily stared at him. He didn't even realize what he had said. But I would have smiled. On the 5th year they sold the house. For millions. Jason stood in the empty living room. "This place changed me," he said. Emily touched the wall. "He wanted you to learn." Jason nodded. "I did." And for the first time he meant it. At the end my lawyer gave Jason another letter. "Jason, you laughed at a man who built his life with his hands. Now you've lived inside that life. Respect isn't about money. It's about effort. If you've learned that, then you've inherited more than a house." Jason folded the letter. He didn't laugh. He whispered, "I'm sorry." Too late for me to hear it. But not too late for him to change. Some people think karma is loud. I think it's patient. It waits. It watches. And when the time is right, it reads the will.